So I'm going to crack on. I'm Danielle. I work for Solar for Schools. I've worked for Solar for Schools for the last 2 years. I did not work in solar before, and I came to work at Solar for Schools quite randomly, really. I got involved with climate activism and then found out about community energy. I was quite blown away by what community energy was. I wanted to tell my community about it. I set up an event. I invited Solar for Schools to the event, and they ended up offering me a job. So I made the transition from being a teacher for 10 years to working in the solar industry as a community and education development manager. And this is Richard. He'll introduce himself.
Hi guys, how are the mini eggs? Yeah, good. There's more of them if you pay attention to this lovely presentation. So I'm Richard, I'm the Strategic Partnership Manager at Solar for Schools. I've been here for about 1.5 years as well. And I actually got the job in a weird way, similar to Danielle, where I just called up and said, I've really got a passion for this. It really aligns with my values, and I really like the work you do. How can I support you, and in what way? And after 3 more painful calls where I just wouldn't leave them alone, they offered me a job. But I'll pass back to you, Danielle.
So I think the purpose of this presentation is to highlight to you that there's lots of different options for you in solar. It isn't just being about an installer. I think many of you are here today about, electrical engineers, and you're going into technical roles. But actually there are so many other opportunities in the solar industry, and I think it's just about, finding what you feel passionate about or what you care about. So we just wanted to tell you a little bit about the organisation. I know some of you heard from us what we do over there, but this little video kind of sums it up really, I think, and sums up where we come from as a company. So what the video tells you is, actually what the children in the video tell you is that they really, really wanted to do something to help the planet. And obviously solar is a renewable energy. They decided as a school that they wanted to get solar panels, and Solar for Schools was able to help them do that. So Solar for Schools has a funding model that enables schools to get solar panels for free, and it also gives students the opportunity to have an education around the solar panels for the lifetime of those panels being on the rooftops. So for example, if you were to become an asset manager engineer, so that's someone who goes out, checks that the solar panels are functioning, make sure the electrics is all good, you're inspecting the solar panels for the electrics, then you could also be engaging with the students about what you're doing and your job. And that's one of the things that some of our installers, our electrical engineers do, and I also go into schools and deliver an education program as well. So that's what we do. Yeah.
The beauty about what we do as well is any of you guys can have an impact and start that transition on your own school today, or even the college. Ask that question. If you come over to us after this, we can show you how you can use our software to design your own solar system and then take that to whatever teacher or staff member that you want to. And it can really show you straight away what potential savings you can make. You know how many students are in your school and how many would benefit from that education. And then, we can show you how to take that forward. So there's really is opportunities for you to start today by doing something in this industry and having an impact where you are.
So we've kind of recently explored this at Solar for Schools, and we think it's really important about when you're looking at what career you want to get into, thinking about where you actually where you actually stand as a human being and what you care about, what your ethics are. We know that more and more young people are choosing companies to work for that actually align with their values. So they might not be going to work for a company that manufactures goods in China, for example. It's just an example, but we have identified these as our values at Solar for Schools, and we wanted you to have a think about what are your values, and when you're thinking about the company you want to go and work for, do those values align with yours?
So next we've want to explain a little bit about all the different careers we have at Solar for Schools, because there's a lot, and I know I spoke to a few of you earlier about some of the jobs, and we have a lot more we can show you as well, but we've separated it into 3 main categories. Pre-install, so all the work that you have to put behind the scenes to get the school to have solar. The install itself, which is self-explanatory, but we'll touch on that. And then the post-install, which is that relationship management piece afterwards. Because when you install solar on a school, you're building a relationship for not just a year, but for 25 years in the case of Solar for Schools. So if we go on to the pre-install, so this is really where my expertise comes in the pre-install. So it's really about getting schools to trust you and getting them to understand all of the technicalities involved in the process. And it's really for us to communicate the simplicity of it and how we can support the schools through that. But we have lots of different jobs here, and I'm going to take a couple just to explain in a bit more detail. So the fundraising manager, we have an example of someone from our team, Sanchi. And it's a really important job because when we speak about values, it's really important for our ethical investors to align with the company's values so their money is going to something which makes a real difference. So Sanchi's role is really important to show what that impact looks like to the investors, and she does that through our software, which I can show any of you guys later. Sales project lead is where I came in. So when I randomly rang and said, hey, give me a job, they said, be a sales project lead. What does that mean? That means I take the schools through the relationships, all the different hurdles and obstacles that they might go through, and then make sure that that relationship's passed over to the installation team and then the asset management team after that. We'll now go on to the install, which is the middle section.
So this is probably the one that you're most familiar with in terms of what careers are open to you. Electrical engineer, we've spoken to many people today who are doing electrical courses. Solar PV installer, you're actually going up onto the rooftops and putting the panels on and fitting them. Site team manager. So a lot of these roles are outdoor jobs. You've got to like working outdoors. You've got to be willing to travel, often up and down the country, often being away from home. It's really something to consider when you're thinking about what career you want to go into in the future. You know, is that you? Are you going to be able to cope with, you know, all weathers? England is a cold place sometimes. So is that going to be something that you're going to accept in your life? There are really lucrative opportunities if you do that. But and being a solar PV installer as well, you can often go out on your own, you can set up your own business. So if you're entrepreneurial, then that might be the thing for you. Charles deals with a lot of scaffolders. They make a lot of money, don't they? They're loaded, aren't they, scaffolders? And then you've got like desk-based jobs like project manager and operations manager. These are the people doing things behind the scenes, making sure that the project, you know, is successful from start to finish in terms of the installation. One of the ways you can progress, so you know, you can go on to become a chief operations officer, and that's someone who oversees all of this and knows all about the supply chain, is trying to really make sure that all of this happens at the most cost-effective way. Okay, so finally the post-install stage.
Yeah, so as we spoke about earlier, the post-install stage is the longest period of relationship management that someone will have to manage. So the asset management engineer really needs to make sure that that data monitoring and maintenance piece of the solar systems is kept. And when an inverter goes or when a part of the system might not work as well as it should, they need to communicate and build that relationship effectively so those hurdles are overcome. The reason why the asset management is so important is because that data and monitoring piece then goes to the education team. And as Danielle touched on earlier, our education team comes in and links to the curriculum all of the work, which takes the data and uses it for lesson plans. And an example of that is Ali, who's one of our interns at the moment, and she delivers some of our education workshops. We also have the head of asset management, similar to the role before. They have to coordinate a large team and make sure everything's operating effectively. But yeah, on to the next slide.
That's pretty much it, but I just wanted to leave you with some actual actions that you can take. I know I've spoken to some of you guys about downloading the app. If you're interested to actually see what it's like to design a solar PV system, you can do that for free on our app. And yeah, ask people questions today, right? This is your opportunity to do so. Thanks for listening. I know you were kind of dragged here, so I appreciate it. All right.
We might have a mini egg left or two as well, just so. Cheers, guys.